Methods of conservation of natural resources. At the end of this lesson, you should be able to describe the methods of soil conservation. You should be able to describe the methods of forest conservation. You should also be able to describe the methods of air conservation. And you should be able to describe the methods of wildlife conservation. Let's start with the methods of soil conservation. What are the methods of soil conservation? In soil conservation, there are practices that you must apply. You must apply the measures of protecting the soil from erosion and also trying to maintain the soil fertility. Take possible measures for you to prevent the soil from erosion and also take the measures of managing or increasing soil fertility. Now let's look at the protection of the soil from erosion. What are the processes that are involved? Let's take some of these examples. Number one is terracing. Terracing, how can we use this to control soil erosion? Terracing, you can be able to use terracing to reduce the amount of velocity of moving water across the soil surface. Because when you create this slope in a series of steps, it will try to shorten the long slope into series of shorter slopes, thereby reducing the rate by which water pressure should wash away the outer layer of the soil. Now the second one, contour ploughing. In contour ploughing, you make ridges across the direction of the slope, whereby this route made by the plough run perpendicular, or instead of it running parallel to the slopes, it run perpendicular to the slope, thereby resulting in furrows. These furrows that curve around the farmland, it curves around the land, thereby creating a barrier of water washing away the outer layer of the soil. The next one, mulching. With mulching, we can be able to cover the upper surface of the soil with dry plant materials that we clear from bushes. All plant materials that we clear from bushes, we use them to create a bed on top of the soil, thereby protecting the soil from water runout. Now, another method that we can be able to apply in conservation of the soil is strip cultivation. In strip cultivation, here we create natural dams for water, helping it to preserve the strength of the soil. Because when we start planting permanent trees in alternate stripes, and we take annual ones that require clearing and tilling and put them in between, here we try to create a way in which they are strong enough to slow down water from moving through them. So the weaker soil parts that would have washed away if in the absence of these alternate plants will be retained, thereby maintaining the soil from being washed out. Now, use of storm and drain. Here you see different methods by which people construct barriers that should keep the flow of water. People use different techniques in this particular area. Some people use metals in construction of this barrier that stops the free flow of water. Some people will even improvise using cement bag, they fill it with sand and use it to create a barrier that will prevent the outflow of water. This is use of storm and drain. It's been effective, by which it creates a barrier in which water should flow and wash away the outer layer of the soil. Now, another one is cover cropping. Using of grasses, trees, and shrubs to plant them, thereby they prevent the soil from being washed away. With these grasses, they try to cover the soil. They try to protect the soil because grasses and trees are being planted. They act as a barrier to the water, thereby reducing the pressure by which the water should wash the outer layer of the soil. The next one is minimizing tillage or ploughing. And now the ability or the intensity of tillage in the farmland creates an avenue by which water will be able to channel itself, thereby causing erosion. It creates a water channel. So if we reduce the rate of tillage, it will also reduce the rate of erosion, because the more we till the soil, is also the more we till, we create channel for water to flow through. So tillaging is a method of creating channel for water to pass, thereby increasing the rate of soil erosion. So tillaging should be discouraged. It should be discouraged. Now, let's look at maintaining soil fertility. What are the ways that we can use to maintain soil fertility? I know that if they come across your mind, first thing we should be that addition of manure. Yes, addition of manure is a very good method of increasing soil fertility. Either compost manure is perfect. It's a natural way by which we can do that. Another way one is application of chemicals like fertilizers, some chemicals like plant food. Here you see some people, they'll spray chemicals that will increase the yield of plants. They'll spray chemicals on soil that will increase the yield of plants. Thereby, when the soil fertility has been increased, it will also increase the plant yield. Now the next one is crop rotation. Yes, crop rotation is very, very good, because every crop, every plant have its own nutrient requirement. So when you rotate different plants and different season, the nutrients will be available for each of them at their due time, because plants are specific on the type of nutrient that they demand. Now, the last but not the least on these examples are growing legumes such as soybeans, to restore the nitrogen in the soil, because we know that legumes, they are nitrogen fixing plants, because they undergo at their root nodules, they undergo symbiotic relationship with nitrogen fixing bacteria. So through that process, if these nitrogen fixing bacteria are there, they will help to fix nitrogen in the soil. And let's look at how we can be able to conserve the forest. Conserve the forest. One, by establishment of laws that will regulate the cutting down of trees. Yes, laws should be established, because any society where you don't have laws that should be abiding people on irregularities, you see that things will go out of hand. So laws and policies should be established that will regulate the cutting down of timbers. That's one major way that we can conserve our forest. Now the second one is setting a forest guard that should serve as security guard in the forest, protecting people from misusing the trees. Another one is forest reserve. Yes, an environment where we cultivate these trees, we keep them, restrict them from the activities of other hunters. We try to protect this tree as a recreational area where people can come and study them, but when it comes to deforesting that particular area, it will be sanctioned. People will not be allowed to come into this area. It is a forest reserve created by the government. It's a very good one. Now, another one is avoidance of bush burning. Yeah, if bush burning is a major way that can intimidate the rate of trees in the forest, it can instigate that. But if we can avoid this, it will be very, very good, because trees will not pass through this disaster of bush burning. Now, another one is afforestation. Afforestation, planting of trees. When we plant new trees, they will be able to replace the old ones. So planting of new trees is a vital way by which we can be able to conserve forest. Now, if we are to cut down trees, we should do that selectively. Young trees should not be felled. Instead, the older ones are the ones that we should fell. Cutting down of trees should be selective, because if we are not selective in the way that we cut down trees, we will be able to lose some plants that should stand in the future generation. Let's look at the government, the role of the government here. What is the role of the government? If the government can be able to bring down the cost of coal, cooking gas, reduce this thing so that people who are using timber, firewood in cooking, going into the forest to cut down these trees in order to get timber, that they won't be able to do that because the economy has been reduced to the level that these domestic needs have been brought to the standard that they can be able to afford. So government have a role to play here to bring down the cost of cooking gas, electricity, and coal. Okay, now let's look at air conservation. How can we conserve the air? We can conserve the air by discharging industrial waste products in the air. When we discharge industrial waste products in the air, it will be far from the environment. Thereby, it won't be able to cause harm to living things within this particular place. The second one is creating conditions for complete combustion. We know that incomplete combustion reduces some gases that are harmful to living things. Example, carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide. These are gases that are released as a result of incomplete combustion. So when complete combustion are being initiated, you see that this air pollution will also be reduced, as we studied during pollution. Now, siting industries away from residential area, that's very, very good. If we site industries away from residential area, these pollutants will not be causing hazard on the natural resources. Providing filters or absorbers that remove pollutants from the industrial waste. Yes, we know that these filters and absorbers, they will be able to filter smokes, they will be able to filter gases that are harmful to living organisms. So if we are able to produce industrial engines, machines, cars that have these filters and absorbers that will remove these pollutants, we can be able to overcome air pollution. Let's look at wildlife conservation. How can we conserve our wildlife? We can conserve our wildlife by avoidance of poaching. Indiscriminate killing of animals should be discouraged because these animals, they have every animal, every living thing has a role to play in the environment. They have a role to play in the ecosystem. If you remove any of them where they're supposed to be, it will affect another organism because they have a role to play in the ecosystem. Just as we studied during in our class in tropic level, you know that at each tropic level, every animal has a role to play for them to transfer energy from one level to the other. Establishment of game reserve to protect this animal from hunters. If we can establish a game reserve, just like a forest reserve, if we can establish a game reserve where we can be able to keep these animals so that hunters will not be able to poach them, it's very, very good. We can create that. If we can be able to do that, it's a very good way by which we can be able to conserve our wildlife. Now, another one is establishment of water bodies such as rivers and lakes, so that it will be devoid to poisonous chemicals, garbage and sewage. Imagine that you will see people disposing poisonous chemicals into these rivers, which are very, very dangerous to living organism that lives there. So establishment of water bodies that is free from these chemicals is very, very good. It's a very good way by which we can conserve our wildlife. Killing of young animals should not be allowed. Killing of young animals should not be allowed. Clearing of our vegetation in the aquatic environment so that this vegetation will be able to establish a free environment for fish and other aquatic organisms so that it can be able to allow oxygen to circulate within that particular area. It's a very good way by which we can conserve our wildlife. We can also construct dams that will allow high economic value in the country. It can be able to, so that it will not be able to disturb fish migration. So the dams construction should be done critically. It should be done in a way that it will affect wildlife that lives in the water. Deforestation should be discouraged. Because these animals that they have natural habitat is in the forest. If we apply deforestation, we are going to chase them away from their natural habitat. So deforestation should be discouraged because animals like birds, monkeys that lives in forest, if we cut down trees, we are chasing them out from their natural environment. Please We all can do this together. We can make